You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the March 14th, 2023 meeting of the LaPorte County Drainage Board. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
We'll call the March 14th, 2023 Drainage Board meeting to order by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Joe Kusan is absent. Hugh Glasgow. Tony Hendricks. Here. Connie Graham-Rosa.
Here.
Here.
Pat Vance.
Here.
Brad Adamski.
Here. Do we have anything that we need to add to the agenda? Okay, if not, we'll proceed. Approval of last month's minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Bank spraying bids.
Okay, I got 2 bids back for the bank spraying. They're all still sealed on our envelopes. So we got one from Right of Way and one from the Daltons. And here's a sheet you can mark it down with. And here's this, folks.
I'll make you do something yet.
Too hard.
Okay, so we have right-of-way management for the Bull Ditch. Are these footages right? 22,690 feet.
Yeah.
Okay. So for the Bull Ditch is, here, you want to write that on there? 5,218.70. 5,218.70.
70 cents. That's for right of way.
That was right away. You got that in the wrong line, but just switch those. She already had them. That was for the Bull Ditch. Little Kankakee River, $5,377.63. And for the Rodman Ditch, $12,412.64.
So Little Kankakee was $5,377.63.
$5,377.63.
Rodman was $12,412.64.
That is correct.
Okay. For right-of-way management.
That was right-of-way management.
Okay.
And for Dalton's Chemical Vegetation Control, Bull Ditch, $6,353.26. Little Kankakee River, $6,546.68. And the Rodman Ditch, $15,111.04. So it looks like right away has the winning bids on all those.
Yeah, they're lower on all of them.
Rodman. I do have enough money in all 3 of those funds to cover those prices.
I'd like to make a motion to approve right away.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Next on the agenda is number 3, Ashley Castro, Concord Drive. I don't believe she's here. But since she brought it up, I guess I'll bring it up. Apparently, she has not done anything that she was supposed to do last year within the 10-day notice. So can we send her another letter that stuff needs to be done?
We can. I would just ask Christine, what was the nature of her reaching out? Why did she want to be on the agenda? Do you know?
She did not say. She just asked to be put on the agenda. She didn't give any detail.
All right.
Apparently, I wasn't on the board last year, but I'm understanding that she had to fix some stuff that needed to be fixed, and she hasn't done it yet.
That's what's being reported right now, yeah. Yeah, they had property with a drainage ditch for subdivision. They had done some work on that without permission, without really any guidance or supervision. Came to the board's attention. The board gave them 10 days to get either paperwork done or something to direct us on what they were doing or planning on doing. Apparently, they haven't responded. I think that was last June or July.
So we're going to send them a certified letter and tell them to either be at the next meeting or fix it.
Or we fix it.
Or we'll fix it and add it to their tax bill. I guess you might as well put that in the letter.
All right.
Tony, can you refresh our memory a little bit there on that? The bank was destroyed, or what was going on with that?
They have a stormwater pond that's for that subdivision. They destroyed all the vegetation. They cut all the trees down, took all the vegetation out, and there was nothing left but sand and mess. And I was hoping, honestly, that vegetation would grow up, but it's so sandy, nothing's growing. So at some point, someone's going to have to reseed it. Now, the pond there's a possibility they might be able to do what they want, but they have to send us a hydraulic analysis and a drainage study if they'd like to reduce that pond and reduce that easement, but they haven't done anything, so.
Where
They
did
haven't
the
touched it.
picture come from that was attached?
Christie took that.
One of those I took, I think the first one might have came from a complaint, the initial complaint that we received last year, and then the second one I took probably like 2 weeks ago.
It's a very high-profile position. Lots of very important people live down there, and it looked really nice. Now it's just completely
So the trees they
destroyed.
tore out, were they planted there, or did they just grow up in wild vegetation?
Oh, they were planted there.
And they tore those out?
Yeah, they tore everything out.
So do I need a motion on that for you to send that letter?
No, I've got direction from the board. Basically tell her, get it resolved, contact the county, or at least be here at the next meeting. You guys can take action then if she hasn't done anything.
Okay.
Yeah, because this grass seeding time is fast approaching, so
Yes,
we basically have one more month.
yes.
Everybody good with that?
Yep.
Okay, we'll move on to number 4, Casey's General Store, Eckert Ditch in Wanata. And I'm going to abstain for everything, so Hugh, that means you're in charge.
You want to take it, Brad?
Okay, do we have a latest report on that?
Yeah, we're putting together an agreement for Casey's where they'll maintain their portion of the ditch as long as the improvements are on site. Basically, the agreement is that they built on our easement without permission that obstructs us from coming in and doing the maintenance. They're going to be responsible for doing that so long as those are in place. The agreement will carry with the land, so it'll pass to any future owners as well. So we're going to put that agreement together and put it to them.
Are they going to clean the ditch all the way to the railroad?
I'll differ with.
Yes, they've got a contract to clean the ditch to the railroad. So we're only going to ask them to maintain forever and ever the ditch adjacent to their property. Anything south of them to the railroad, we have enough law, this board has enough law and teeth to go after them if we need to. We can issue them 10-day notice, we can tell them to fix it, we can put a lien on their property. So to require them to go past their property is probably not wise. We wouldn't do it for anyone else. But we do have law and code to go after them if we find sand or dirt or garbage down there.
Yeah, to add to that, as Tony just said, we've already got the authority to do that if it's off their site to require the cleanup. If we start putting language like that in an agreement like this, then we run the possibility down the road we've got an agreement with somebody, we don't include that they're arguing that,
Understood.
yeah. So if we've already got the law in place to enforce it, we don't need to cloud that issue.
So nobody's here from Casey's?
Yeah, there's 2 here.
All right. Would you like to report for us, or are you happy with what's going on with the agreement?
Good morning. My name is Mike Seedsma. Coming in from Iowa from Casey's Corporate for this meeting. With a little bit of a heads up of what was going on with all of this. My role at Casey's is store development manager, so I'm responsible for all of our plans, permitting, and processes to build new stores and remodel existing stores in all 16 states. So hundreds and hundreds of projects since I've been at Casey's. I was told there was a chance that you guys were going to be asking for us to maintain off property, which is something I've never come across before. So I'm pleased to hear that you're not recommending that. Even the cleanup off of our property for removing all the trees and stuff that have grown up into the ditch feels like a bit of a stretch, but we've agreed to do that, and I'm certainly not going to fight you guys on us doing that today. I don't believe that our construction is obstructing your guys' ability to maintain that ditch in any way, as that easement is very, very large, and that ditch is nowhere near the portions of the property or that easement area that we've impeded with construction. I do understand that that happened. We didn't know about the easement, obviously, neither did the city as we were going through our permitting process. We got through approvals. We were in construction before anybody brought up that this type of unrecorded easement even exists. We'd never heard of anything like this in the past. So everybody was unawares. It wasn't just us. We weren't intentionally trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. We certainly wouldn't do that. At the time, if we would have known, we got plenty of property. We easily could have shifted everything out of the easement if this would have been brought up earlier. And that's something that we certainly would have done. So at Casey's, we always try to be a good neighbor. It's not just part of the slogan. We take care of our property, we take care of our adjacent neighbors, and we do everything we can not to impede or impose on anybody else, just for the construction of our stores. So the fact that this happened was obviously pure accident. It wasn't by any omission or intention on our part. So in good faith, we're cleaning up the ditch beyond. I think even maintaining the portion outside of our property is seems a little bit unusual, depending on what you guys consider maintenance of that ditch area. Obviously, in normal construction, residential, commercial, it's not uncommon to maintain the right-of-way or the boulevard space outside of your property. Normal mowing and maintenance, stuff like that, don't have any problem with. Obviously, we want the area in front of our store to look good. We irrigate everything. We mow everything regularly. We always try to make sure that our stores look very presentable and welcoming to the public. So no problem there. Do you guys have any insight on what exactly you mean by maintenance of that ditch along our property area?
Well, the way I understand it, you say we are not impeded from maintaining a ditch, but right there at the beginning, if we wanted to clean that ditch, we would have to haul those spoils away because there's no place to put them on the bank. Can't throw them to the highway side, and we can't obviously put them under your pavilion, so they would have to be hauled away, which adds to the cost. So I'm very happy, and I understand, I fully trust that you will take care as long as you're there. But these easements go forever, Mm-hmm. So there is a little bit of an infringement or an added cost to maintaining a ditch from what you've done. That's why we're making a long-term agreement here, but.
Yeah, our concern isn't, we understand you'll mow the lawn and keep the garbage and trash out of the ditch, but our concern, like Hugh said, is if we have to go out and clean the silt that gets in that ditch, we don't want to destroy your curbs and your parking lots and your grass, mm-hmm. and we can't do it from 421 side. And if it's a maintenance agreement with you, I presume you would work with the next neighbor south, and if there's spoils, you could potentially put them on that bank. But we just don't want to have our contractors coming in there and probably not making your site look very pretty just in that little stretch. Now, outside your stretch, yes, if the silt starts rolling down and garbage gets in there, which I know Casey's never have, we have other legalities and code to go after and get that cleaned up. It's just your stretch in there. We don't work, this board doesn't work at improved areas very well. We work in farm areas, so we clean the spoils out, we put them on the bank, and we vegetate them and we walk away. Now with Casey's there, we won't be able to do that. So that's why we want the maintenance agreement just for your section.
Okay. Is there some sort of agreement we can write where if you do need to come in and maintain, that we can provide some haul-away services and we'll restore our own property, something like that, rather than actually maintaining the ditch itself?
You could, I guess it's up to Brad. I mean, this board, since we want the maintenance agreement on your property, you could still work through the board and we could hire those people because we don't look at people that, but we, it's a question of bringing excavators in there and destroying your lawn and destroying your curb and your pavement and upsetting your operation.
I guess my thought would be if we're going to have to maintain that ditch in some way to clean it out like that, we're going to have to do the same thing. There's only so many ways to clean out a ditch. So
Yeah, there's only one way probably to clean that ditch out in your area, which even could cause trouble. It would be a rubber wheeled vehicle with a ditch witch on the end of it, if we had to dip it out. Now, normal, like you're saying, normal operations, you'll keep it mowed, you'll keep it clean. That's fine for 99% of the time. It's when the silt starts filling up that ditch. If it does, there might be enough flow. It doesn't. We would have to bring in a rubber, or somebody would have to bring a rubber wheeled excavator ditch witch, then clean it out and move it either somewhere south or move it off-site with some sort of off-road truck or something. But they would get in there, and obviously we're concerned that they would get in there and using any vehicle would probably destroy your grass. And then we're into a he said, she said, we have somebody in there destroying grass, which we can, but we don't need to be on the board talking about somebody destroyed your grass or broke your curb up or ruined your asphalt.
Okay. I presume with our lot being developed, fully grassed, landscape maintained, paved, the amount of potential siltation coming from that property is going to be reduced quite a bit.
Yeah,
for that ditch area. Has there ever been any history of this ditch requiring maintenance? I mean, obviously it hasn't been maintained forever since we're
No,
paying
but there's
to clean.
plans for culverts coming underneath US 30. So normally we wouldn't worry about the beginning of a court ditch. But in this case, the beginning of that court ditch is going to affect a lot of upstream drainage. So we need to make sure that it can be maintained for the area.
Okay. No, it makes sense. I was just curious if there's any history of it requiring maintenance. So I
The
could
last
have an
time
understanding.
the last time that ditch was cleaned from 30 to the railroad was about 10 years ago.
So about every 10 years.
Okay. All those trees in there are from 10 years? There's some big ones in there. Okay. So at the bottom of the ditch line, the actual drainage way looks pretty clear most of the run. It's everything that's been growing up on the banks, which has some benefits, obviously, for bank stability and windbreaks for snow and such. But I'm not sure if the goal is to clean all of that shrubbery and growth trees out of the ditch banks all the way down to the railroad.
No, typically we don't want to take everything off the banks. They stabilize the banks.
That's why those trees are so big. They cleaned around them last time.
Okay.
They don't clear cut it usually.
Gotcha. Okay. I'm not opposed to some sort of an agreement, obviously, whether it's Casey's assists or we repair our own site from whatever damage is caused by your guys' maintenance. I'd just like to make sure that we understand the language that's going into it as far as what that actually means. Most ditches aren't cleaned every year because then you're destroying any vegetation that does grow. So annual maintenance doesn't sound quite right. This would be an extreme event maintenance where things have silted in some way that it's impeding the flow. I drove by there this morning. It was flowing pretty darn good. 6 inches or a foot of water in the bottom of that ditch running. So it seems to be a very active drainage way, so obviously it needs to be cleared, but active drainage ways have a good way of maintaining themselves as well. So
Do you have a card with you with contact information?
I can bring you one, yes.
Well, we appreciate you coming to our humble meeting,
Yeah.
and I'm sure Brad can work something out.
Okay. Very good. You guys have any questions for me while I'm here?
None.
Okay. Thank you guys very much.
On that same topic, we discussed, not outside of Casey's, that I think this board needs to draw up some sort of resolution to NDOT while they're in very preliminary stages about what they're going to do about letting that water come underneath 30. So we need something sent to NDOT from this board. It would be nice if I'd say the commissioners would enter it too, that NDOT could potentially be preparing to let that water flow north of 30 through us as fast as possible, which would be detrimental to us and any south owner. So long as this board would weigh in to NDOT while they're developing US 30 corridor, they're thinking potentially interstate corridor, right? If they open up that drainage ditch underneath 30, we're going to bear the brunt of it, and it's going to end up at the railroad. So we need some documentation or something given to NDOT on file that we would like them to throttle that stormwater storage north of 30, which potentially could be even greater as that gets developed north of 30. They have a big area there north of 30 that could potentially be dredged out and be a pond or a wetland. We would rather have them do that than just stick a bigger culvert under 30.
Well, I agree with you, Tony. There's a lot of water to the north of 30 right in that area.
Going to be more. So while they're doing this redesign of 30, I think it'd be wise for this board, we could work on it, send, maybe next month have a resolution and send it to NDOT.
And if you want cooperation from the commission, I mean, we can do that as well. I mean, currently you obviously have a commissioner on the board, so you would still need like a secondary agreement.
Well, I think it would just a resolution would guide their designers to change their thinking instead of making the culvert larger or a big box culvert to actually start storing some of this water north of 30. Jeff, what do you think?
Can I speak as the drainage board, or you want me to speak as the landowner south? Which one do you, or can I get back in this meeting, or how do you want to do that, Brad?
Well, we're not taking formal action on this. We're past the point where we're addressing cases.
Well, I'm not, yeah, we're past the point of Casey, so I guess I'm back in as drainage board. I'd like to have a motion for Tony or Brad to, let's start the proactive situation with the state of Indiana, and so that we're on board with what they're doing when they change 30, because I've been told they're changing 30 and it's going to get changed here in the next 2 years, the way I'm saying, and we need to be proactive on what we're doing here, because they're going to have to make sure that we're on the same page with them. And I think we need to make sure that we know what's going on, that they're just not going to come in here and start changing stuff without us not knowing what's going on.
My guess is they've got some preliminary engineering done and we need to get going quick.
So I have a question. So you're not obviously not going to get this done before Thursday, because our next commissioners meeting is Thursday.
No, it'd be a resolution for this board to adopt.
Okay. So after you prepare that, then we can, if you send it to me or our attorney, then we'll get something together, and then.
If we want something from the commissioner level too, right? Tony's just proposing that this board as a drainage board adopt their own resolution to send that to NDOT. If the commissioners want to do one themselves, obviously there's benefit added to that, but that's not under our control.
Be nice if it was the same one.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd happily share it with commissioner's attorney.
Okay. So if you just email it to me, then we'll take care of it on the commission.
Okay.
So we need a motion on that, or?
Well, you'll need a motion when you eventually adopt the resolution.
Okay, but we don't need one for you to do.
Right.
Okay.
Just, you're directing us right now to prepare it.
We just want to know if you're on board.
It sounds like you are.
Okay.
Yes.
Any questions? All right, so we'll move on to number 5, appointment board member as a drainage liaison to the NDOT. Any?
I would hope it would be you, Jeff.
Yeah, that's what I figured it was going to be, me. I figured that.
You're voluntold.
Yeah. So, you going to make that a motion, Hugh?
Yeah, I moved that we appoint Jeff to just about any, I'm no to the end.
Thanks, Hugh.
I'll second that.
NDOT.
Motion's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Can I nay that or no? It probably doesn't really matter at this point, does it?
Doesn't work.
All right. Number 6, Little Kankakee River Tree Removal Project.
So I got a request from property owners to do a tree removal on the Little Kankakee from County Road 350 South to 700 East, and that's in Lincoln Township and Fish Lake. And we're just going to take trees out of the channel and 35 feet back on both sides of the bank. And we are going to skip the 2 properties that are at the north and the south part of the ditch. So I'm going to put this out for bid today to come back for the April meeting to be completed by May 15th.
Okay, I got a question on that. So we're taking the trees out of the ditch, and what is the reason for taking the trees off the bank? And then we're
Just
skipping
because
areas?
Because a lot of them got hit with disease and they're all falling in. They're dead and falling in. Yeah, so we could take stuff out of the channel, and then just more stuff's gonna fall
And
in.
that was from where to where?
350 south to 700 east. That's in Fish Lake. Here's a map. So here's Fish Lake. Here's the start. We would skip that property on that west side, and then do through here, down to 700 here. It's like a mile.
Never send that map down there.
How much money do we have on that little Kankakee River?
So we're skipping by where, I'm assuming there's a house there we're skipping by?
Yeah, so we have $60,773, but then we're gonna take off the $5,377 for the bank spraying. Yeah, there's a house on the north and on the west side. He doesn't like any work done on his side. And then there's a house on the south side, on the east side, that doesn't like any work done on their side. Just so we skip those parts.
So is there dead trees by their houses?
Well, I have written in the specs that if there's leaners on their side, that they can get them from the opposite side of the bank. Yeah, if there's anything dead or leaning on that opposite side, I put wording in the specs that direct the contractor to work from the opposite side of the bank to get that stuff out.
These homeowners, are they taking care of their own trees as they come up?
Yeah, I know the person on the south, it does, so that's why I always skip through his part.
You want to see this?
Yeah, we can make sure the person on the north does too.
So you guys went out and looked at this and think this needs to be done?
Yeah, I've seen it. We did tree removal out there last year, and just like minimal, and it needs it again. So,
So now we're clear cut on both sides of the bank?
with the exception of large trees. I have that in the specs, don't I? You have the specs down there? Does it say with the exception of large trees? And if you want to throttle it back, we can, but it doesn't matter. I know they got hit with, what was it, the Dutch elm? What was the other tree disease that's
So it's 35
wiping
feet.
stuff out?
Yeah,
Is that
killing
what-
And a lot of stuff out there's dead, and it just keeps falling in.
the boar ash.
Say 35
Yeah,
feet, both sides of the bank.
Boar ash. Ash borer.
Something, yeah.
Bugs.
Trees larger than 24-inch diameter.
Yeah, so if it's something big that's not dead, we leave it there.
So we're going to go 35 feet from the top of the bank on both sides of the ditch.
Yeah.
What is beyond the 35 feet?
It's mostly field. Like,
Who's the adjoining property owners? Some of them, maybe, do you remember? Tuholsky,
yeah, it's Van
Hindenburg.
Dierendonks, might be Tuholsky's. Oh, I have to look on Beacon. Hold on.
Well, I think it's a good deal to get those trees off that little Kankakee because they end up in the big river eventually. And we had a huge ditch breakout there about 5 years ago. I think it cost $70,000, and it wouldn't have cost near as much if the trees would have been taken care of ahead of time.
Yep.
So Van Dierendonks are on the east side. On the west side is TLKJ. Paul Bloom. Van Dierendonks. Paul Bloom. Yeah, that's basically the owners. It's only a mile.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll ask for a motion to do the tree removal project on the Little Kankakee River to take bids.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moving on to number 7, monthly reports, Hudson Lake.
Georgette Joyce, 7299 East Hudson Point Lane, New Carlisle. So we did two manual measurements and a total hawk measurement of the lake on Monday, a week ago. And thanks, Christine, for doing it at the Ware. And we were within a half an inch with all those measurements, so that's good. It means that our total hawk is working just fine. We had a tour with the DNR, the Deputy Director Ryan Mueller, and two other DNR resources that went around the lake. So they wanted to understand the various needs that we have around the lake, because it's very different from place to place. And they looked at the Ware, but also we looked at the ditch, and there's the gate that's there, and it was a little ajar. And so the question was whether we could clean it, and they were talking about maybe even putting a lock on it. I'm not sure if that's a good thing or not. If you guys can guide us on it, that would be a good thing. But Ryan was going to check on who owned, it was a purple marking for no trespassing, so we're not sure what we should or shouldn't do on it. There's been times when the gate is open, but that's dangerous because with the water flow, a kid could go in there or whatever. So we're trying to figure out what to do to make it clean and safe. We're also engaging. So one of the DNR people was also a watershed, hydraulic engineer. So he's going to help. They understand the challenges we have with lake levels, and that's a good thing. So they were looking to move forward with that one-page agreement where the Hudson Lake Conservation Association would take over management of the drain as an extension of the DNR, as the Drainage Board currently does. And last year, there was an agreement that would be acceptable to the Drainage Board, and so we're working down that path. There would be a bigger agreement as time passes. Obviously, it's with guidance of what we would have to do when we would have to open and close the drain and service and so forth. So that's moving forward. And the DNR is going to have a meeting on May 4th, Thursday at 6 p.m. at Monroe's Crossing on the lake. And their intention was that anybody from the Drainage Board who wants to join in on that meeting is welcome. It's going to be an informational meeting to the community, talking about the history and how we got here and looking at the various needs of the lake. Sewers are moving forward. There is a challenge now because the prices have gone so high up with inflation and so forth, but at this point, they're still moving forward with hopefully sewers being in Hudson Lake area by 2024. We had grant approvals for the aquatic weed treatment and also for dredging. The grant was given to dredge around the public ramp, and now the challenge is to get the 20% matching, which is no small thing because it's $24,000. We'll have to see how we do with that, but we have up to 3 years to do that. And we also purchased, we're joining the community collaboration, Rain, Hail, and Snow. It's everyday people collecting manual measurements of those elements, and we just sent for our rain gauge, because that could be married with the total hawk along with NOAA data so that we really get a good look of the water that comes and goes from Hudson Lake. So we're all the way up to our necks in all of this. So I think that's it. Any questions or comments about that gate and a lock?
Is it on the outlet?
Yeah, in the outlet. Yes, on the outlet.
The gate that comes up, yeah. I think we had talked about doing that years ago, because kids are always down there playing around with it, and it's up.
Oh, there was
down,
rocks that were shoved in there, and it was a jar. Animals could fit in there, at this point. And we'll work with the DNR to do it. I just didn't know what guidance you guys had.
It's always been a problem. It's always been a problem with that outlet,
because we would
shoving stuff
marry
in there.
taking care of the drain and the mechanism is along with the outlet.
It's probably something to write into the agreement.
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
So then also, I'll probably just bring up that, probably in the agreement, that some wording needs to be in there about, that protects the owners, that where the easement
Correct.
and the weir is, that the people aren't trespassing and going through their yard to go to the weir. And so there's going to probably be some wording needed that.
Yeah, and we talked with the DNR, and obviously there would be a team that would be designated, just like you are, and only they would
And
be
only
allowed
them.
to, you know,
Yeah.
go along the easement and do whatever. Frankly, the only thing we would need to do on that person's property is if we do a manual measurement, because everything else is off property, you
Yeah.
know, to actually open and close the drain.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
we did talk about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure.
How
that
is
was
your
in-
lake level now?
We're at 9 inches right now, which is the lowest we ever should be that's anywhere near healthy. So it needs to be way higher than that.
I think you guys are doing a good job kind of taking control over the situation and making it your own, and that kind of keeps us, you know,
Free you up.
lets us step back. So you guys are doing a good job.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Thank you. Brad, you got anything?
Nothing old, but I guess just to confirm what we've covered today, we'll get the new letter out on the Concord Drive property. Work with Casey's to get that language resolved. I'll work with the surveyor's office too to make sure we're in line with what you guys are wanting, and then work on that resolution with NDOT. So,
Okay, thank you.
yep.
Tony, you got anything?
The Kankakee River Basin Technical Advisory Commission met last
Week,
Thursday,
Wednesday.
Wednesday, and they're doing a emergency management action plan. So the Army Corps is assisting us in doing that, so all counties will be involved. So if something happens on the Kankakee, which we are getting into rainy season again, and hopefully it's not a really bad rainy season, but if something happens, we'll have a plan and places to look at and notify, and communications and phone numbers, and where do you get support, NDOT, sandbags. Hopefully we're going to work on that all year and get something at least rough draft out with Scott Pilath and the Kankakee River Basin Commission. So thanks to the Army Corps for helping us. A lot of people showed up, a lot of interest. There's a news article on it. And Scott's just looking at something to set up. So if something happens anywhere on the Kankakee River, flooding upstream or downstream, or in Illinois, who do you call and how do you get some help? That's all I have.
Tony, I noticed this last big rain we had, the yellow came up and blocked the Kankakee or slowed it down for about 4 days. And how are you doing on that flood control diversion from the yellow to the Kankakee?
Into the English Lake.
Yeah,
They're working on it. I'll be honest, not as fast as I want. Not as fast as Dick Welsh wants. Not as fast as Dan Gum wants. But yeah, so what I think is going to happen is the two cross levees, we're going to put some riprap spillways in. So those pipes that are holding up the flow from going from the yellow back to the yellow right now are making it go back to the Kankakee and stopping and slowing the Kankakee. We'll alleviate that because we have one of those at the Thayer Farm, which did work this last 2 weeks ago, right? It's actually working. It was a overflow spillway, riprap, and it worked just like it's supposed to. So hopefully that will let us have two of those in the DNR property at English Lake, which will keep the water from the yellow going back to the yellow and not to the Kankakee.
yeah, well, Plymouth had 4 inches of rain, we had 1, and we were affected like we had 3 inches because the river came right up.
Yeah, I was hoping it would already be in place, but, and now I'm hoping they do it this summer. Because I don't think there's any permitting involved, just ahead, it's DNR English Lake property. Just dig out a spillway and put a cross, stop those cross levees from blocking the water going to the Kankakee and let it go back to the yellow. Why, the yellow is typically about 10 to 12 feet higher than the Kankakee. Let's keep it in the yellow.
Right.
We'll put it back on the Kankakee. But Scott's working on that. I think DNR's got to buy in. I think the agencies have to release them and say it's okay because we're working on some spillways which were inside of wetlands. I think it could happen this year.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any reports from joint boards? I had my first 4-county board. I thought this board was one of those but it's nothing compared to that board. So I'm still learning, and that is a very interesting board to be on, I'll say that. And I want to thank you for putting me on that board.
You're welcome, Jeff.
No problem. Do we have any claims?
I do. I have one comment, though, that Dinah Dunburst was not able to attend today. She's our liaison to Michiana Shores and White Ditch, and she and I are working together to get a quote from our standing ditch maintainer up there, Mick Wolf, who's going to look at getting trees out, just limbs, small stuff that's from Pokagon to Michiana Drive. So I just wanted to make that part of the record. In claims, I have one claim from Carl Netzer for the Behringer ditch for $14,900, and that work has been completed and has helped the water being backed up situation that's happening to the north. So that's been a good project and has helped people out. There's money in that fund.
Got a motion to pay that claim.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Number 9, is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? With no public comment, we'll go ahead and adjourn. The next meeting will be at the library at 9 o'clock on April 11th. Thank you.
Library again.